Alright folks, this video we're going to go over some of the most common headers, connectors on motherboards, starting with Z690, and we'll work our way down to say maybe Z390. Probably covered most of the stuff by the time we get to 490. But so what do we have here? This is your HD audio header. Alright, that is coming from the case panel. Next to it we have RGB LED header, and then there is the addressable RGB right there. Notice the pin missing. In case I didn't call it out, there is also a pin missing in HD audio. That way you do not mix it up with USB 2.0, which is shown right here. Notice the pin that's missing is in a different spot. That would be this one and this one, okay? Alright, so some of these, even I don't even know what they are, but let's see, this would be a Thunderbolt, 5-pin Thunderbolt AIC connector right there. Alright, maybe I'll keep my screwdriver handy. Next door to that is clear CMOS jumper. Okay, not every motherboard seems to have that. CMOS battery right there, okay. Next door to that is one of your fan headers, okay. So you can't really see it from this side, but on the other side there is a dark plastic piece that's sticking up so that when you connect your case fan, alright, the 4-pin case fan, that it goes in there only one way. There's also case fans that connect with Molex, but they are not, that's not something that connects to the motherboard, so we won't be talking about it. SATA connectors, there's 2. There's black things right up front. This motherboard actually has 6. Or excuse me, 8. There's 6 more back there. Alright. Now, right next to SATA is power LED and speaker header. Okay, so let me move this out of the way. Now, if you get one of those little devices that is for a PC speaker that comes with your case, it comes with a case. Will come in a plastic bag with screws and all that. Not all cases come with that, but that's where that little gizmo is going to go. Over here we have the case, front panel case connectors. You see there's only one thing plugged in here, and that's the power button. But you also have connectors for a hard drive, LED, reset switch, and a power LED in there, okay? So if you are connecting up a computer case and you just want to get it started right away, the power switch is the one that you need. Now, of course, you can get the computer started up after everything's connected with a flathead screwdriver, touching the 2 pins that are covered by this power switch. Alright, so over here is an M.2. This is a hyper one, so that means Gen 4. Underneath the graphics card you see a Wi-Fi M.2. Alright, so that usually means that you're going to have to run the wires to the antenna. So you may have that as part of your motherboard. Or you may have a motherboard that comes already with an M.2 for Wi-Fi. That would end with AC usually in the name. Alright, now we have these different slots here. PCIe 16 are the big ones, and then you have the 1.0 is the smaller one. There's also 4.0 and then some other sizes. Now, this motherboard being Z690, it actually has one that is PCIe 5.0 capable, okay, even though there aren't any graphics cards out there that I'm aware of that you can buy that are PCIe 5.0. Now, a year from now, probably another story, right? This one is 4.0 and this is 3.0. Now, You will probably be able to plug in a 5.0 or 4.0 card in this, but you will be limiting your bandwidth to only 3.0. This one, 4.0, you'll be able to put a 5.0 in there, a 4.0 and a 3.0, but be limited to 4. This is the one, if you have PCIe 5.0, to get the most out of your graphics card, you'd want to put it in there. Alright, so what else do we have, folks? Of course, underneath here is where your CPU goes. Alright, that is, in this case, EVGA 1700. 13th gen Intel will be EVGA 1800. Let's go ahead and look at the side. These are pretty standard. You've got a line out, headphone, microphone. This case, there's different sizes of these LANs for different speeds. 10, 2.5, and 1.0. This one happens to be a 2.5. Underneath that are USB 3.0 connectors, 3.0, and then some 2.0s there. Something else you'll see on a lot of motherboards are different video connectors. This has DisplayPort and HDMI. This over here is for a BIOS update, that little button there. Alright. There's a lot of other stuff on this motherboard. Let's move around to the other side, okay? Now, if we can get in here. You've got a USB 3.0 header here. That guy is going to come from your case. Right next to it is a Type C header. That is if your case has Type C USB on it, okay? Now what's plugged in over here is a 24-pin connector from the power supply. You've got, in this case, 4 RAM slots, DDR4, and then various fan headers, as well as additional RGB. So, one thing we missed, back here with the M.2s, this is Gen 4, there's also Ultra, which would be Gen 3.0. So that one was a little hard to get into. Let's go look at 5.0, okay? This is, a Z590. This happens to be an RTX 3090. It is plugged in a PCIe 4.0 slot, okay? So this motherboard only has one 4.0, the 3.0 there, and 2 of the smaller 1.0s. Now, same thing here, headers. Nothing real different on these, folks. So once you start to get familiar with one motherboard, you're really familiar with quite a bit of them. So here is a fan header, and you see this is a little opposite of the other one. The black part is on the outside. There you see Ultra, okay? Over here, this motherboard ends with AC in it, and guess what? It has the Wi-Fi antennas on it, okay? Same line outs. A lot of similarities here. This only has one HDMI connector. Now, we didn't note this in the other one, but here is the CPU power connector. Right now it has 1x8 connected to it. It also has another 1x4. This CPU is only a i9-10900. So it doesn't really need all that extra power, so hence the other connector is not connected. And it basically what we have for a power supply, it could handle it, right? I could run another CPU connector, but it's not necessary. RAM slots, you see they will support RGB RAM. Alright. Now you see more of the RGB right here. See more fan headers. And in this case, I have unplugged the RGB. That's what that looks like, and that would have plugged in. Oops, excuse me. This is what plugs in over here where your 3-pin is, the gray one up front. All right. Same thing back here, Type C right there, 3.0 right there. Okay. Let us try and find a Z490 motherboard. So to do that, folks, we're going to come out here and hopefully we'll find one. All right. No, AMD. Is this Z490? This might be Z490, folks. No, Z370. Why not talk about Z370? So, in this case, folks, we have this different piece slot here. You can actually see an M.2 in here. There are USBs that you can actually read from above. That's always nice when you can read it like that, okay? In this case, I think you can actually read the front panel connectors. You can see their orientation, all right? Something that we kind of missed in the other aspect of this video. So this guy has a VGA connector, all right, and DVI dual right there. Also has the green and purple there. That's the old PS2 style. All right, so that's one thing you're going to notice as we went back to the Z690. You have the more common connectors for today. All right, in this case, this has the older stuff. Alright, so this is a RTX 3080 Ti Noctua. Nothing really different on this motherboard, folks. There's another USB 3.0 header right there. Moving over to here. This should be a Z490M, if I remember correctly. So you see again, we don't have the other power connector. This one's on the right side where the other one was on the left side. One RAM slot is being used. There's 4 available. That's common, right? Motherboards will have 2 to 4 of those. Here's a different orientation of the grouping SATAs. You see 4 of them there. Now that's something that varies from motherboard to motherboard, okay? How many of those you have. Now I like this. From above you can see USB 3.2 header. Now over here a lot of times you'll see this COM connector. I never use that. So a lot of similarities, folks. Now this one, different front panel, right? But it's color coded. That is really nice looking, to be honest with you. Makes it a lot easier for you to see. So really, folks, that's about it for you know, low-end motherboards. You will see some more stuff on the higher end. Maybe that will be, you know, additional headers. So when we talk about, where's that guy? Right there. The USB 3.2. You might see 2 of those on a higher end motherboard. The M.2s that are on here, this one's right there. You may see 4 of those depending on the motherboard. Alright, like we said, there are different speeds in there. And obviously with the hardware, I haven't moved that screw there, but you can see that this one's just kind of up in the air. You have different sizes of those M.2 sticks, NVMe, SATA. But realistically, folks, that is about all that you're going to find on these things. Now, you know, we talked about the smaller slots, what goes into those. Maybe a Wi-Fi card might go into it, maybe an additional SATA drives. Here is an example of a SATA cable plugged into it. And that goes to this end of the drive. That's a solid state, could go to a hard drive. USB, USBs. This is it. 1G Ethernet there. Now this is an AMD. You can see a lot of similarities, right? The main difference is going to be how you put the CPU in. Now you'll see different orientations of the PCIe slots. See how this is north of the graphics card, which makes it nice to put a Wi-Fi card in there. You use the other one, sometimes you're choking off the fan, so it's not such a good thing. I'm just trying to find anything, folks, that might be a little different. Over here you see they put a fan header right next to the CPU power connector. That's actually a nice thing to do. Not that it's part of the discussion, but you see this has a built-in I/O shield. That's what these are called. A lot of times they'll be aluminum. That's the first thing you'll put in your case before the motherboard goes in. You see different, there are different audio components on here to include a spot for fiber optics. So this motherboard would be good to hook up to a stereo and do some pretty killer gaming stuff. Sometimes you might see a subwoofer out on it. This one has DVI dual, so this is probably a 300 series motherboard. HDMI. This also has Wi-Fi on it. Okay, so that is actually one of the nicer ones you see. It's an older one, but when the antennas are built into it like that, it looks a lot sharper, and you don't see the wires. If we went back to the one that I showed, you might see the wires. Now I believe this is another Z370. Nope, sorry, B560. All right. So we didn't really, in the discussion, it was going to be more Z390 to Z690. Then we changed it up to Z370. This is a B560. This is one of the nicest B560s I've had on the channel. You can see, you know, the same stuff. USB 2.0s. There's an HDMI DisplayPort 2.0. That has a Type C on it, which is nice if you have a phone to connect and you want it to charge up fast. If you have Type C to Type C, some of these, you know, it might be a Thunderbolt connection. So 2 graphics cards here. This actually will, you know, you can support more graphics cards. Those people that do mining, you'll see them have multiple cards in there like that one does. You may see them run off of one of the smaller ones with some additional connectors. So not much difference, folks. As you can see, a lot of similarities. Like I said, once you get familiar with one, kind of familiar with all of them. So you'll see the way the USB 2.0 design looks different, right? Those are have white bases to them, but they're all missing that one pin. Same with this HD audio here. They call it F audio. Okay, there's your front panel connectors. This one, you know, the prints right there on the board. So I think out of these, honestly, the one that we saw that had the multicolors in it, that's probably my favorite look to it. I think that's a gigabyte. That's all we have, folks. Hope you got something out of it. Please like, subscribe. Thank you.